And like you already heard, the master of ceremony in Yale Allison, His Excellency, the President of Liberia, will be arriving here very shortly. Very shortly. And so, as soon as we can catch a glance of it,
Now we have for our welcome remarks Mr. E. Commemoration, President, Federation of United Nations Staff Association, TONSA.
His Excellency Dr. George Manawia, President of the Republic of Liberia, members of the legislature and officials of government of Liberia, Excellency ambassadors and members of the diplomatic corps. On behalf of the United Nations staff, I welcome all of you to the One UN House as we commemorate this day. Thank you and enjoy the event.
And now for special remarks, we call on the Deputy Doyen of the Diplomatic Corps, the Ambassador of Cameroon.
Your Excellency, Mr. Opoku Amaning, Resident Coordinator of the United Nations System in the Republic of Liberia, I thank you on behalf of the Doyen of the Diplomatic Corps in Liberia for honoring the Corps by hosting us so elegantly in these solemn premises of One UN House. We feel gratified and honored that you have associated the Diplomatic Corps to those invited to take the floor this morning. Permit me to write on already expressed protocol as I salute you all, Excellencies, Honorables, ladies and gentlemen, in all the diversity of your most esteemed individual ranks and functions. Your Excellency, Mr. President George Manawia, President of the Republic of Liberia, we salute your high presence here amongst us. Your decision to find time to preside today as we all celebrate the United Nations organization at 75 does highlight several positive points. Among these is your will to show the world how much Liberia, a rare African founding member in June 1945, of these our common heritage and sanctuary, continues and will continue to advocate for its global reach and impact, as well as for those sensible reforms and adjustments which most of its members hope will make the organization's excellent work even more unimpeachable. Such work is challenged by a world of increasingly complex aspirations and irreversible expectations that, unfortunately, appear constrained by the inelastic resources of the UN and its members. Your presence here today is also that of the leader of a country which, like many others, has not so long ago enjoyed the healing dynamism of the United Nations as you sought for final recovery from internal troubles. Indeed, Mr. President, the immense solidarity of friendly nations was visible as they worked through the United Nations to fast-track the consolidation of Liberia's national, political, social, and economic recovery. Thankfully, so many patriotic Liberians had already started to work so ardently for the same ideals during the late 1990s and early 2000s, even as the Civil War still raged across this historic land. For many of our countries, the United Nations system has also been that organization which, sometimes decried, some other times exalted, remains the world's fire brigade of ultimate resort. At 75, the United Nations has therefore matured into a grandmother who knows that most of the criticisms that it may hear from its children or members may be mere reminders of how much we all aspire to have effective, comforting mediation, to her advisory power, to the advisory power of her peacemaking resolutions, to the stabilizing impact of her global socio-economic interventions, to the individual protections of her human rights advocacy, to her undiscriminating pleas for gender and youth balance. In the last 40 years of continual calls for urgent reform, notably of the Security Council, of this greatest of institutional inventions in terms of human organization, I perceive that it has all been about how to make the better to become the best, and for the efficient to become more irreproachable for the most. Indeed, in harmony with the ideals expressed by President Truman on 26 June 1945, the future we want needs a United Nations that is more genuinely collective and multilateral in its decision-making as in its decision implementation. Excellency, Mr. President, the diplomatic corps here in the Republic of Liberia has always been a mini United Nations which endeavors to contribute to the improvements that we all seek for our organization, for all its members, and for Liberia too. But we have also always taken due collective pride in our achievements, however small these may have been, especially when we consider that any such advances were the fruits of determined collective action alongside the organization here in Liberia under the dynamic leadership of past representatives of the United Nations Secretary General. As we head with hope for greater peace towards the UN at 80, we wish the same measure of continued success for the United Nations as a whole and for its offices in Liberia. We must continue our rewarding diplomatic collaboration with the United Nations under the leadership of our dear friend and brother, Dr. Kingsley Opoku-Amaning. His commitment to Liberia's progress has been visible since his arrival here. We also wish to heartily congratulate all our friends and colleagues who represent diverse organs and institutions of the United Nations system here in Liberia, and who took the wise decision to gather their bureaus together under the protective and cost-cutting roof of one UN house. Happy 75, long live the Republic of Liberia, long live the United Nations Organization. I thank you.
For those special remarks. And now we'll have the UN Day message of the Secretary General.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Deputy Doyen, for Your Excellency, Dr. George Manewea, the President of the Republic of Liberia, ministers and senior officials of the government of Liberia here present, Excellencies of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. As I stepped out this morning from my car, I remembered what my father used to tell me. He said, beware of what you wish for. But we thank God for his great mercies. It's under this sun that I warmly welcome all of you to the One UN House to join the United Nations in commemorating the UN at 7. This year's theme is the future we want, United Nations we need, reaffirming our collective commitment to multilateralism, confronting COVID-19 through effective multilateral action. This message, which is meant to be global, resonates with Liberia and what the UN stands for. We applaud all Liberians for maintaining the hard-won peace while enhancing their commitment to development. Today, and improve the lives of its people. On this occasion, I will proceed to read the Secretary General's message for this UN United Nations Day. I will share with you after that my brief reflection on the work which we, the UN, are doing here with you. United Nations Day, 24th October 2020. And I quote, "Dear friends, the 75th anniversary of the United Nations pandemic. Our founding mission is more critical than ever. To promote human dignity, protect human rights, respect international law, and save humanity from war. COVID-19 is the time for a stepped-up push for peace to achieve a global ceasefire. The clock is ticking. We must also make peace with our planet. The climate emergency threatens life itself. We must mobilize the whole world to reach carbon neutrality, net zero emissions of greenhouse gases to end human suffering. The months of pandemic have seen a horrific rise in violence against women and girls. We must build on progress. A remarkable global collaboration is underway for a safe, affordable, and accessible COVID-19 vaccine for all. The Sustainable Development Goals give us an inspiring blueprint for recovering better. We face colossal challenges. With global solidarity and cooperation, we can overcome them. That's what the United Nations is all about. On this anniversary, I ask people everywhere to join together. The United Nations not only stands with you, the United Nations belongs to you and is you, we the peoples. Together, let us uphold the enduring values of the United Nations Charter. Let us build on our advances across the decades. Let us realize our shared vision of a better world for all. Thank you." Unquote. Permit me to make a few remarks, and I promise to be very brief. Today, we begin here in Liberia our celebration to mark the UN at 75. Tomorrow, October 24th, the UN will be 75 years old. This anniversary occurs at a very difficult time for Liberia and for the rest of the world, because COVID pandemic has affected many lives and economies, as it is changing how the world used to work, live, and function previously. Over 1 million lives in the world have been lost. Families have been left grieving and in despair. Many have lost their livelihoods and sources of employment. Companies have shut down. Whilst over 75 years, the world's focus had been on sustaining peace, preventing wars, building economies, and lately addressing climate change, we had hardly thought that an invisible virus could create such a pandemic that would bring the world to a standstill, if not on its knees, and affect everyone in almost every way. Today, we know that the COVID pandemic is not a respecter of gender, race, class, status, religion, and it transcends all barriers. Without underestimating in any way what the government and people of Liberia have endured in the last 6 months, we can thankfully say we have so far been spared the worst of the pandemic in this country. We can even proudly add that drawing on our past lessons from Ebola and invoking our strong community spirit of survival to face challenges, Liberia has progressively and successfully contained the virus and its impact on the lives and the livelihoods of its people. Liberia has managed to do more with very little through leadership and commitment of the government under His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Liberia. Liberians and their partners have also demonstrated that they can bring about positive change through their resilience and leveraging on the support of their friends and partners, the United Nations and the international community. In the light of such encouraging outcomes, we can strongly hope that Liberia and its partners can now confidently turn to the structural, socioeconomic, and environmental challenges, as well as to continued peace building and governance, and meet them squarely and successfully. One of these challenges, and by far the most worrying now, is poverty, which is fueled by large-scale underemployment and unemployment. Since poverty affects mostly young people who account for almost 2/3 of the population, we know now, but by our collective experience, that we can harness their proven energy and that of the entire community to create jobs and build wealth for the people of Liberia and beyond. But we also know that above all, we must seek to supply their vital needs, especially through education, vocational and life skills, help them to fulfill their dreams. We believe that the same attention should be paid to the vulnerable, especially the children who are the future of the country. To improve our chances in wealth creation and positive socialization, we should not leave our women and girls behind through discrimination and marginalization. We should build on their potential and rights to participation and inclusiveness. They are generally even better placed than men to strengthen community resilience and build wealth for the benefit of their society. This is the more reason why their involvement in decision-making at all levels is imperative. I'm sure that you will all join me to note with satisfaction the recent renewed commitment of the country to address violence against women and girls, which was reaching a frightening proportion. In this context, I should congratulate the President, the government, and all other stakeholders of Liberia for the bold stance they took to establish a roadmap to establish a roadmap that should lead to increased protection for women and girls and ensure their full and equal access to opportunities in this country. I must, with heartfelt sincerity, congratulate the First Lady for the work she's been doing in this context. We fully appreciate that. But we also know that if inclusiveness and the expansion of opportunities constitute the hallmark of our development as defined by the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, it is also fitting and proper that these considerations are reflected in our various conceptual and operational frameworks. I therefore commend the government on its leadership for proposing to review its pro-poor agenda for prosperity and development to firmly integrate into it access to basic goods and services by all Liberians in all communities. We particularly appreciate the emphasis that the government and its people seek to place on community development. And I invite all of us to form a great partnership to achieve that purpose. As we approach the period of elections, I'm sure all Liberians and their partners know that the commitment of the people of Liberia to peace and democracy will be tested, as we can see it all over in West Africa in recent times. But in this, they can count on the UN and its partners for all the support they need to maintain the peace, avoid violence, and improve their democratic credentials. I'm confident that together we will all rise to the challenge, for we all know that without peace and stability, our collective efforts towards prosperity and the welfare of the people of Liberia will be compromised. I will be remiss if I do not clearly indicate my appreciation for the commitment of His Excellency the President personally, his government and the people of Liberia, including all political stakeholders and the CSO, the civil society organizations, for their commitment to peace. But before I end, let me express on behalf of the United Nations country team, and especially myself, our deep appreciation to you, Your Excellency, the President, and to your government for the high quality of collaboration and cooperation between the United Nations and the Liberian administration. Because of the openness, warmth, and accessibility of you, Mr. President, and your entire administration, we in the United Nations are able to effectively undertake our responsibilities in our various agencies. We can advise, promote, encourage, and even advise on the most complex and delicate issues without fear or favor. We are encouraged to do more by this. We are encouraged to think more and to serve better all Liberians without any discrimination based on gender, class, age, religion, sexual, and political orientation. So thank you very much. But finally, let me, on behalf of the Secretary General, assure the government and the people of Liberia that the UN remains committed to providing all the support at its disposal so that all Liberians can fully meet the challenges ahead. We stand ready to work with our partners so that the requisite expertise, advice, resources, and support will continue to be available to the country and to all its people. On this occasion of our 75th anniversary, we pledge to be with Liberia in every step on its path towards its destiny. We believe that all partners in Liberia will join the UN to do the same. For together we can overcome the challenges which face not only the Liberians, but humanity as a whole. As the Secretary General said in his message, the United Nations belongs to you and is you, we the people. Let us realize our shared vision of a better world for all. Thank you.
Thanks to Mr. Kingsley Anani, Resident Coordinator, United Nations, Liberia, for the reading of the UN Day message of the Secretary General.
Madam Clara Mariwia, Mother of the Nation, the Dean, and members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the Cabinet here present, our ECOWAS family, Mr. Kingsley Amandi, and all other members of the United Nations family, government officials, former government officials here present, special invitees, members of the Fourth Estate, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, it is my honor to invite to the podium the President of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency Dr. George Manawia, who will now come make a statement.
You may have your seat. Her Excellency, Madam Clara Mariwia, First Lady of the Republic of Liberia, members of the House of Representatives, members of the Liberian Senate, the members of the Diplomatic Corps, the Acting Dean and members of the Cabinet, bishops, prelates, and members of the clergy, other officials of government, heads and members of the political parties that are present, the resident coordinator of the United Nations in Liberia, local and international development partners, political and business leaders, distinguished personalities, members of the Fourth Estate, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to be here today to participate on this special occasion marking the observance of the remarkable milestones the UN has achieved. It bears testament to the foresight of its vision bearer to maintain international peace and security, develop friendly relations, and be a center for harmonizing the actions of nations adopted on the 25th June and formally enacted on 24th October 1945. As we celebrate in advance the 75th year of UN existence, Liberia, one of the 50 countries that signed the Charter in San Francisco, is proud to be a success story of what the UN stands for. We can proudly say the world is safer today and more prosperous because of the UN. However, some of the main focus of this august body must be realigned to current day realities. Countries and peoples have evolved. The world has changed, and we must adjust to continue to achieve the objectives of the San Francisco Charter. Over the decades of its existence, the UN has scored remarkable progress around the world, particularly on the peace and security pillar. Its peacekeeping missions, including the OMA, for example, has brought about law and order from intractable conflict situations. It remains the beacon of fundamental human rights for all, including freedom of speech, gender equality, and women's empowerment. In addition, the body has helped and continues to lead during health emergencies. With the UN assistance, Liberia combated Ebola and is now withstanding COVID-19, a deadly disease that is not going away. The COVID-19 has immensely overwhelmed healthcare systems around the world, including those of developed nations. Its attendant economic crisis continues to have adverse impact on many nations around the world. Ours has been no exception, but working with our various partners, including the UN, we have seemingly been spared some of the most negative effects of the crisis so far. While the pandemic lingers, we have experienced and continue to see different acts of violence and civil unrest in our sub-region. Let us remember that the real enemy is COVID-19 and not ourselves and our people. Let's refrain from violence and embrace peace, because it is only through peace and stability development for our people and countries are possible. My government remains committed to the UN in securing world peace and upholding basic human rights for all. Finally, I would like to take this time to thank Dr. Kingsley Opoku Amani, resident coordinator and staff, for a great working relationship between the UN and the government of Liberia. In our various discussion over the implementation of the proper agenda for prosperity and development, there has been a common understanding that my government and the United Nations will work more with the communities across the counties. I would therefore like to see a greater and stronger United Nations presence at the community level to enable the body tailor solutions that will benefit the people. In closing, I would like to again thank the UN for its tremendous collaboration with the government of Liberia in finding solutions for the advancement of lives and livelihoods of our people. I say once again, congratulations to my former colleagues and my partner in progress. I thank you.
Special message by His Excellency President George Weah, President of the Republic of Liberia. And now we'll all stand for the playing of the Liberia National Anthem. Thank you very much. And now we have group photos. We'll invite the President of the Republic of Liberia and the First Lady and the UN Resident Coordinator to the steps here for our first group photo. That will be followed by the Foreign Minister will join in for the next photo. And for the third photo, heads of UN agencies and the diplomatic corps.